Good evening, everyone, and welcome once again to the Writer's Room here on Wordcraft. I am your host, Kat Rocha, the night editor, and my co-host sitting beside me is...
J. Ishiro Finney, author and alien in a human suit. And you want to buy my books.
But we're not here to talk about that.
Not today, we're not.
We're here to talk with Ralts Bloodthorne. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yeah, you're pronouncing it correctly.
Excellent.
So does that name run in the family? Was that your father's name? Or?
Actually, it's based off of a character back when I was running Ravenloft games in the 1990s.
Oh, yeah, Ravenloft, yes, talk to me.
Yeah, it's a bad guy's name from back then. It was because I didn't use because when you ran Ravenloft, you didn't party against the Dark Lords. You pitted them against lower NPCs, and that was the name of one. So I kind of kept it. Thought it made a neat name for online, but that was before the Ralts Pokemon came out. Then the Ralts Pokemon came out, and that was that.
Wow. Well, before we get started, since we have got so many, and I do mean so many people in the chat today, I would be remiss not to mention that all of our interviews and other topics related to writing are all on the Wordcraft channel.
Correct.
Which is an alternate channel dedicated strictly to writing and the topic of writing. Last week we talked to David J. West of the Brutal series, and then prior to that, John C. Wright. So if you want to listen to this again, it will be on the Wordcraft channel. And I suggest you go subscribe.
Yes.
So let's get down to business.
All right. So what's the business?
Well, the business is you write humorous material from I've only read one story. I didn't get a chance to get much further into Behold Humanity.
How far did you get?
Well, I read the first story.
Oh, the first book?
Well, it's a collection, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or is that just
Bathok Eats an Ice Cream Cone is the first story in the first book.
Yeah, I read that one, which I found hysterically funny. It culminates in an ice cream raid.
Yes.
Of mass destruction.
Yes, the Bathok Chronicles.
And what I would compare your writing to, it really reminded me of a classic era in which Galaxy magazine in the 40s and 50s especially, they published all sorts of science fiction, but there was a genre that seems to have been forgotten, which was this kind of pulp sci-fi humor of absurdity. And some of the most funny sci-fi stories I've ever read were all published at that time. And I would say Bathok Eats an Ice Cream really reminds me of that.
Bathok Eats an Ice Cream Cone actually has a funny story around it.
Yeah.
Back in 1990 to 1991, I happened to be sent on an overseas fun adventure time. And at the time, we were in Saudi Arabia still. And we had a generator with a bad bearing, so somebody had to sit out there with it because generators were hot property. People would literally roll up and steal your generators. And so I was sitting out there, and I was bored because, there's nothing but sand. And I'm sitting out there by the generator pit, and I'm just kind of daydreaming. I picked up some MRE packet boxes and started writing on them. And I wrote this story. I left it on top of the generator. At dinner, I think it was my platoon leader comes in and goes, "You write this stuff?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "You should keep it. It's pretty good." And because mail was free going back to the States, I wrapped it up, sent it to my sister. And the internet, and I got back, I'd forgotten about it. The internet started up. My sister's like, "Hey, I found this old story of yours when I got married and I was moving. You want it?" And I was like, "Sure." Typed it up, put it online for a little bit, forgot about it. Sat on a hard drive because I'm one of those people that when I buy a new hard drive, I copy the old hard drive onto the new storage drive. And I had it posted somewhere else that I hadn't really thought of it. And I posted it in the HFY subreddit. And that's where it all started, is just this story sitting there by a generator in December in Saudi Arabia with nothing better to do.
Wow.
Bathok was the sound that somebody actually said it in the chat. So Bathok was the sound the generator with a bad bearing made. Yeah, every couple of minutes I go Bathok, Bathok. And I'd have to reach over there and smack the fuel filter with my fingers.
Which gave rise to what is a hilariously bizarre story.
Yes.
involving ice cream addiction. A warrior he's the greatest warrior who's only had a few victories of his species.
Hey, they will ride that to the end of time.
For those of the listeners out there who are not familiar with, was it HFY?
Yes.
Explain what that is.
Okay. In a lot of science fiction nowadays, humans are always the underdog. They're terrible. They're pathetic. They're worthless. They're like the worst thing in the galaxy. HFY stands for humanity fuck yeah. And basically it says humans are great. Humans are either great warriors, great artists, great technological, great at expansion. Humanity has something good about them. And you don't see that often. So reading these stories is a joy, because too much science fiction nowadays is misery porn.
Yeah.
And humanity fuck yeah is all. Humanity's great. We're amazing. We have reason to exist. We exist for a reason, and we're great. And it's really nice to write in. And there's a lot of good writers there that write some really interesting stuff.
Well, I have to admit, I am all for sci-fi that does not show humanity as losers.
Yes, I am so glad that that there are people still writing stories like that.
We need to go back to the day of the classic Star Trek,
Right.
Kirk's not afraid to punch an alien.
Right. And see, I grew up on that stuff because, I grew up poor. So a lot of the stuff, the school I went to was poor. So a lot of our stuff, we had like I don't know if it was the Hugo Awards back then, but it was like award-winning science fiction from the 1950s. Where you'd have, I'm Captain, Jake Starbuck, and this is my wife, triple PhD holder, starship engineer and pilot, Mrs. Buck Starbuck, and it was a lot different back then. And then, I don't know, somewhere it got lost, and I miss it.
It was called the 1960s.
Yeah.
That's where it got lost.
I think so. And the deconstructionist, and they forgot with deconstruction, you're supposed to build something back up.
Not if you're a communist.
Don't get me started on the communists. Yeah,
and
somebody
so
did.
This gave rise to what is now 3 books going on 4?
Published 3 books going on 4th. The 4th, Thou Shalt Not Fall, is going to be released between now and the 21st, whenever my artist finishes the cover. That's all it's waiting on. And it's over 2 million words published on Reddit and mirrored on Royal Road.
That's excellent.
Yeah, it's almost 700 chapters, even though I kind of messed up the numbering more than once.
So if you were to give a short pitch of the universe of Ralts Bloodthorne, what would it be?
120 million years ago, 3 precursor races went at it. 2 survived. Humanity shows up, plays around in the universe, gets jumped, discovers the universe is a malevolent place, and instead of, mercilessly eradicating everybody, they make allies and friends and try to bring them up with them.
Nice.
The story itself involves a multiple front, multiple player galactic war that takes place in the Cygnus Orion galactic arm stub. It's difficult to explain, and that doesn't cover a ton of stuff in there. I mean, it's really hard to describe when you hit 2 million words,
Well, I don't know. You can do, for instance, a short pitch of Game of Thrones would be Tolkien with a lot of great characters, but everybody dies and the world sucks.
Yeah.
And no elves.
Yeah, no elves.
Well, since I know at least the first book is a collection of stories, are all of the books collections of stories? Are we following a single character? Are there multiple characters that we're following?
You end up following multiple characters. He hasn't been introduced yet. He's introduced in the 3rd book. His name's Vuxton. He's a janitor. He started out with a very short arc. That's him right there. He started out with a very short arc, and it broadened until he takes part in the War on Heaven. And yes, this series actually does get to the point where the people who've reading it, there's the War on Heaven that has now moved to the War in Hell. Literally.
So we're talking religious heaven and hell.
Yes, but also no.
Okay, so we're not talking like Hellraiser hell or
Or
No.
are we talking human heaven and hell, or are we talking somebody's heaven and hell?
Humans cracked how to, okay, with the introduction of quantum entanglement, humans cracked how to record people's brains and upload them. And they built this system called the Sentience Uninterrupted Disaster Storage. Somebody gets killed, their brain is being updated every couple seconds into this system. Well, once you run out of rebirths, you get put into heaven, which it makes based on your preferences. But it glitched. And it's also got hell, which the hell is actually for catastrophic event recovery. Like, let's say you died really badly. You're going to need some therapy. You're going to have to get through this. Hell is basically therapy. And unfortunately, it glitched, and the being that was in charge of heaven went crazy. And so that mortals had to go into the system, both in the real world and digitally, and try to free God. Not kill him, but free him from the damaged system. Like I said, it gets pretty weird, but it's 8,000 years of humanity is in this system. So it's heaven and hell. And there is some, you've got the digital on Messiah, code made flesh. And I went with something different. Every time else you read about religion, especially in science fiction or fantasy, the gods are always the biggest dicks. I mean, they're always so terrible. You're like, why would anybody even want to read what this guy has to say? So instead, I tried to make him reasonable and relatable and an understanding and benevolent person, because he's the intercessor between the malevolent universe and the mortal world. So there is religion in it, and I try to be respectful to religions because, I wouldn't want somebody to come along and disrespect my beliefs.
well, at this point, I would say kicking the cages and burning down the sacred cows is not a daring act, nor is it even necessary.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the sacred cow's been burnt, passed out, defecated, and grown into peach trees.
At this point, they're just kicking someone who's down.
Yeah.
So,
and
yeah, I thoroughly agree that there's nothing brave, daring, or even innovative about that.
It was different in the 50s and 60s. It was.
Yeah.
It was different when what's his name hammered the notes to the door of the church.
Martin Luther.
Yeah, Martin Luther did it. That was different. But now it's different. And yeah, it is a bunch of short stories, but it does follow a same thread. Through it, you meet different characters. Some begin to repeat more and more and more, leading up to the eventual climax. But you've got tons. All of those, how they look all disconnected. They eventually get woven together to the point where I end up referring to chapters from 300 chapters ago, bringing back a character that only appeared once. Because all that chapter did was tell you where they were when all this started and give you an idea who they were.
So tell us about the Pre-Janitor Races.
Well, you had 3 of them. One was an insectoid race, the mantid. Everybody loves insect creatures. And the second one was the Lannic Talon. Mash 2 cows together in a centaur and give it a kind of a catfish head and 4 arms and 4 legs. And that's the other. And the third are basically kind of sort of roughly based on Dungeons and Dragons Mind Flayers, only they've got a third eye.
Ooh.
And all 3 of them went to war over who would have all the resources in the universe when entropy happened, which is kind of funny considering they never really got beyond the base of the galactic Orion Spur.
So they weren't very good at it.
Actually, no. That's one of the recurring themes. Is the precursor races, while they may have had amazing technology back then, it's now pretty much junk. And the most common thing is, wow, were the precursor races bad at pattern recognition?
Wow.
So how about the humor element?
Oh God. Everything from, flat out jokes. I've stolen jokes from everywhere. There is all kinds of call outs and Easter eggs. A recent one is a character's talking about his martial arts style, and he mentions it's called that the center of being in perfect calmness is unagi. And if you know your Friends lore, you'll remember Ross from Friends talking about that. I do stuff like that all the time. One of the precursors asked the other, do you think it's funny that the lemur is killing all of our troops? And he goes, well, I do, and I'm tired of pretending it's not. I mean, I'll steal from everything, because if you steal from one person, it's theft. If you sneak up on every writer in existence and rifle through their pockets while they're not looking, it's homage.
And how much of this would you say is humor developed while you were serving?
Oh, God. Say about half. Well, actually, there's humor from when I was in the service. There's humor from working construction jobs in the Texas heat. There's humor from raising children, the old, he's going to pull that down on himself. Yeah, but he'll only do it once, won't he? Because children are the dumbest things in the world. I mean, I love them, but damn, they're dumb.
Of, Chris Titus's routine.
Yeah. The Titus show, my brothers used to laugh that Christopher Titus and his brother were me and my brothers, and Stacy Keach was my dad, especially that one line.
Oh God.
Hey, the teacher said I could grow up and be president. And Stacy Keach goes, she wasn't talking to you, son. Now go out in the backyard and keep digging holes. It's just, and somebody brought up Barnyard. Barnyard is Barnyard. He's a Atlantic Talon super spy who announced himself at Terran Customs as, oh yes, I am a spy. My cover story is I'm an import-export. and so the Confederacy Intelligence Services hooks him up with a vacation package for rich weirdos, and he's having the time of his life running around, getting the whole, espionage package for, vacation for rich weirdos, and it's pretty hilarious. I mean, I was laughing when I wrote it.
Is this kind of a nod to the Total Recall movie?
A combination of Total Recall, The Man with One Red Shoe, oh God, not Hot Shots, but there was another one done back then. But all those old comedy movies with spies. It's mostly I write this stuff to be fun. Even the combat stuff, it's gritty, but I try to write it to be fun. Because if it's not fun, well, what the hell's the point? And I'm tired of this. Oh, it doesn't have to be fun. Well, yes, it does if you want my money. Okay, I don't go to Disneyland to get beat up by crackheads. I can get that in Kansas City.
Do that for free.
Although that might be a good story.
What?
Beat up by crackheads at Disneyland? And why I left California?
Yeah, why I left California. Oh man, I lived in California for a while too. California, Oregon, Washington. Lived in all those places.
Well, California is one of those places you can laugh at once you've left.
Yeah,
while you're there, it's not funny.
I lived in Modesto.
Oh.
In the 80s.
So everyone was stoned out of their mind.
Stoned out of their mind or shooting at each other, one of the two. It was different, I'm one of those 70s kids that grew up in the trailer park next to the junkyard, and we played in the junkyard because it was safer than the park.
Decade ahead of me.
Yeah. It was
very much a child of the 80s.
Oh man, the 80s were fun. I landed in Germany in the 80s. Landed and fell flat on my face in a puddle of beer.
Okay, so since you were kind of a child of the 70s, have you seen F is for Family, and how accurate would you say?
I have not seen that. I don't really watch TV shows anymore. I quit watching them. Well, I got very, very upset.
That's not hard to do. I mean, we haven't had cable since
2008.
Yeah, 2008. But we did stream F is for Family. Was that Bill Burr?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was essentially his stand-up routine as a TV show.
Oh, wow.
And he's a kid in the 70s.
Oh, wow. That would be amazing. Yeah, California in the 70s, you learned really quick to get the candy first.
You took the candy, now get in the van, kid.
Yeah.
Sounds about
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
No, you're not fooling me twice. You give me the candy before I get to the van.
All right, so getting back to your stories, who's the major antagonist in this universe?
The malevolent universe itself.
Oh, the universe itself. So
Yeah.
nature's the enemy.
Yeah, it hates you. It hates you. It will come up with things to destroy you. It'll come up, if it's not a supernova, it's some kind of weird creatures from beyond space and time. It started out as the Atlantic Talon. It starts out as the precursor autonomous war machines, and that was basically me tackling Soberhagen, going through his pockets and filing the serial numbers off of everything, and I'll admit it, because that was some amazing stuff, even today. And then it turned into the Atlantic Talon Empire, the Unified Civilized Council, which became known as the Confederacy Council Conflict or the C3 War. And then the Atrekna showed up with their time powers and really threw everything apart and really disrupted everything. So the Atlantic Talon sued for peace because they were beaten and they knew it. And they didn't get beaten just through warfare. Like some societies, the Atlantic Talon believed that culture was a waste of resources. Movies, television, poetry, literature, it's all a waste of resources. So they didn't have communists. Any. They're worse. Actually, imagine a weird mix of communist and hyper-capitalism with debt peonage. That is a question. Living. That's a question I'm not answering. Approximately what time the Mantle Glassing of Terra happened. I am not answering that because I don't know. I literally don't know. I would answer it if I could, but I don't know. I know that sounds weird, but I have no notes. I'm sitting here at my desk. I literally have no notes. But anyway, the Atlantic Talon ran face first into memes, and they got culture cracked so bad it wasn't even funny. I mean, they got culture cracked bad.
So they got destroyed by 4chan, is what you're saying.
Basically, who did you steal the autonomous war machines? I stole it from Soberhagen, the Berserker series.
Oh, that, okay.
Yeah, that was an amazing series. I read that. I used to read that when I was on break, because right across the street from the slaughterhouse, of course, because it's the 80s, is I have no idea where D came from. No clue. Was a bookstore, and I would go over there and throw down a quarter and go pick up a book and sit in my truck and read it during lunch. So, nice. Yeah, they were culture cracked, and that's how they lost the war. And they knew it. I mean, Barnyard has the exact thing happen. He's an executor, which is a super spy, kind of a mix of the KGB, the CIA, all together. And he put together a meme of such awesome power that no culture's ever been able to release it. Well, it's 5 hours of the Atlantic Talon bragging how incredible they are. And then some Rigelian turned around and put it to music, and he won a Cannes Movie Award for it. And he was kind of, the memes on how terrible my meme is are doing better than my meme. Because, you rarely see somebody get culture cracked. Macross was when it happened.
Yeah.
I mean, they got culture cracked so bad it's not even funny.
Destroyed by pretty girls and pop music.
Yeah,
which is totally believable.
And video games, because their race is all about one-upmanship on each other. This one never-do-well turned around and released Steam achievements on them. And they would wear them on their holographic sashes that shows their ranking, their Steam achievements. So, it's a big deal to them. It was just one of those things that just grew out. The whole thing grew out of it organically.
Okay, you got a question.
Okay.
The Blackout asks, do you have any plans regarding the fates and futures of the lawyers of Johnson, Jackson, and Johnston?
Yes, actually, I was just thinking about them the other day when I was sitting on the back porch. They are going to appear because there's a lot of legal wrangling to do, especially regarding the collapse of the Civilized Council and how it's going to. Everybody's seen it's already collapsing into individual nations, and they've got to come back. The The lawyers are something funny. There's have you ever read Battlefield Earth?
No, I have not read Battlefield Earth.
Okay, I did.
Do you regret it, or was it funny?
I read it when I was about 13, and it was the most boring thing I ever read. But they have in there, they had in there the financiers, the bankers, who had shark DNA, and then later the Buck Rogers revival of the 90s, the Warriors had shark DNA. I said, we know what should have shark DNA. If anything's going to have shark DNA, because sharks don't look back because they don't have necks. You know who have necks? Sheep have necks, and they get their throats cut. The people that have shark DNA would be lawyers. Yes, as a matter of fact, I know which one you're referring to. You're referring to the Superman LARPer that met the Doomsday, and they ran off together to build steam trains. You will see him again. He is actually important. I keep all of this in my head somehow. Yes,
well,
and the Sharkana are going to come back. But yeah,
it's bizarre because listening to this, I've read the story. I've read one of the stories, and I know how the world kind of functions in that regard, how you merge humor with sci-fi. But hearing you lay this entire world out and just answering these questions, it sounds like we're hearing one long, elaborate joke.
If anything, the joke's on me. It's kind of a joke that I was running way back at 2020 that when I first started, I was a little ways into it. You can probably even find the post where I mention it. I got hit by lightning.
Oh, geez.
I was sitting in my front room and got hit by lightning. It destroyed my monitor, damaged my computer. It left marks on me. It left burns around my metal implants. And right afterwards, this just started pouring out of me. I don't know where it's coming from. I have very few plans for the future because I sit down and just start writing. So half the time, I don't know where this is going. So it's all one big joke on me.
Okay, so basically lightning brought you your muse, where, for Howard, it was just the specter of Conan standing over him
with a sword.
And
where you had to get shocked.
Well, he got stabbed in a bar. If you remember that,
didn't he?
He got stabbed in a bar and staggered out and passed out in the ditch.
I wonder if there's a common theme here. I mean, I took a bullet.
Yeah, you got hit by lightning.
Oh, taking
PK
a bullet
Dick
sucks.
Went nuts.
Well, he fried his brain.
Yeah. So what was that?
I said taking a bullet sucks. They hurt a lot.
Okay, so you've done that too?
Yeah, they hurt a lot.
Oh, fuck.
So was this in the
service?
Middle East?
Yeah, I was really mad too.
Okay, you got to share that, and you got to complete the lightning story. So do you have those really cool
the burn marks that
I don't scar. I don't scar very easy.
Oh.
Yeah, I've had major surgeries in this left. Like they split me open from underneath my belly button all the way to my right hip to do an emergency appendectomy under less than optimal circumstances, and the scar is barely even noticeable anymore. And it's and the lightning scar lasted for I think about 6 months, and then was gone. I was really disappointed. I mean, it sucks, when you don't scar. It sounds like it'd be great, but it's not, because you're like, well, I can't show off this scar.
Yeah, chicks like the scars. It's true.
Yeah.
All right. So if you don't mind, you said you got shot. What was the deal on that? Or you don't have to talk if you don't want to.
He was a little faster than I was on the trigger. And yeah, it was line of duty. It's just one of those things. I mean, it was during the liberation of Kuwait. It wasn't bad enough to, put me out of the service or anything like that, but it did put me down on my back. I took one of the body armor and one of the flesh, and I was mad. I was 20 years old. I pop right back up from that. I'll kill you. Because I didn't, the one that hit me in the torso hit my body armor. Well, hit my Kevlar, and Kevlar can kind of stop it after it goes through the side of the truck. Yeah.
So you were in a Humvee?
No, actually, I was crouched down behind a GMC pickup truck.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Humvees were for like stateside prima donna units. No. We had
Oh.
GMC and Chevy pickups.
oh, fuck.
I didn't have any sissy A2. I had an A1.
Oh my God.
I went to war with the garbage that was at the unit.
Wow.
Oh my God.
And yet, regular vehicles aren't all that great at stopping bullets, as we
No.
found.
No.
No, they're not.
The movies aren't very accurate in that regard.
Yeah, every time I see where the heroes hide behind some like 2019 Honda Accord and they're shooting it with assault rifle, with battle rifles, and nothing's happening to the guys,
Yeah.
all I can think of is like, no, you're dead.
Yeah. I mean, you might not be as Swiss cheese if you were hiding behind a wheel well, but no, you're kind of screwed. Oh, no, scroll back up.
Okay, yeah. So we
Oh,
got a question?
Are the shark
oh.
people ever going to return?
This was at the top.
Oh,
Sorry, we've got questions lining up. Yes, Forge plays asks, speaking of sharks, are the shark people ever going to return?
if you've noticed, I hit on a chapter that's related to that one about a week ago, which means once I'm done with the current arc, which shouldn't be more than Friday, I'm going to hit them up because they're important. How many keyboards have you broken? Let's see. I just got a replacement one. I have typed my way through. This is my 5th keyboard.
Oh, geez. In how long?
2 years.
Wow.
Is there any subplot line that I wish I could rewrite or redo? Oh, man. That's tough. I don't really think so. Yeah, there is one. Way back when we had the Apocalypse level Clark against the two autonomous war machines. I wish I could change that so the whole Justice League was there instead of just Superman.
Okay, can the moderators start getting rid of the porn ads that are bots that are in the chat?
What porn ads?
Oh, they're bots.
Oh. Yeah, but I mean, people. Well, I might as well bring it up. Speaking of keyboards, people have asked me what's my writing thing. What do I do? I get up, take a shower, have a cup of coffee, get a monster, sit down. I open up Reddit and copy the last headline, change the number, copy and paste the next and previous links, change the hyperlink, close my eyes, take a deep breath, and start typing, and everything flows out. Will the Nazgul protocol ever be reactivated? I don't know. I really don't. It's still ticking in the back of my head.
You won't know until it arrives.
Yeah. It's one of those things.
All right, I'm going through the chat.
So do you ever have this thing where you're like trying to sleep at night and the characters won't shut up?
All the time. That's why sometimes you get 2 a.m. posts. Yes, I get it a lot.
So have you had that moment where one of your characters like completely usurps your story and runs off and takes you with?
Oh God. Yes. Halpathok totally on purpose and not at all accidentally saved Christmas. Is how that happened.
Wow.
Oh, he comes back? He doesn't die in the
No, he comes back. He is like the greatest hero of the Trinod people ever. He saved Christmas. He helped save Thanksgiving. He helped save Turkey Day. And the best part was I ended up writing a claymation TV show.
Wow.
into the story or in reality?
The story, if you read it, you'll realize it's a claymation. It's claymation.
That's awesome.
Does he jump into books like Gumby?
No, but you do get to watch one of the Gruber brothers fall from the Nakatomi Tower. And you get to watch the Grinch dance.
Nice.
Yes, John May asked, do you compose in Reddit or copy and paste from another editor? I compose in Reddit.
Okay. And then Nolan asks, what happened to the Atreus fleet member from the Battle of Earth? Are we ever going to return there?
Oh, the Antaeus fleet, the Black
Antaeus.
Fleet. I gotta decide who. They had to have taken the Black Fleet is weird. I have to decide what admiral they took, what ship they took with them, and the Antaeus fleet is the Black Fleet. They're the ones that the Steamboat Willie and Admiral Thenis are part of. It's one of the reasons Admiral Thenis has reappeared on the decks of her ship, standing out in the vacuum as an anime girl. Believe it or not, that makes total sense if you've read it. Do I have any time to read nowadays? I got recently about 100 Deathlands books, and I am slowly making my way through them. My brother bought me some old 70s picture story books like Worlds of War, the Terran Trade Federation books, art books, and I'm working through those.
I have one of those. Those are great.
Yes, they are. Favorite weapon.
In fact, for those of you who listen to the Monday Night Threesome, those were primarily illustrated by Christopher Foss, who I had mentioned when we were talking about Alien.
Yeah. Amazing. What is my favorite weapon that I've come up with in this universe? Wow. That's really tough. I'm not sure.
So, will my people ever be making an appearance?
The Greys, yes, actually, the Greys are they're a well-known thing, and I really should mention them again. The Greys, the Saurians, the Greys pretty much just want left alone because the universe really stomped them bad. The universe itself did it. Where did the inspiration for all the Immortals come from, especially B'Elanna and Daxon? I have no idea. It just came out of my fingertips. Where's the inspiration?
Liquid Hate and Bunny Jason?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. What that sounds great. What is that?
Liquid Hate is anywhere from 6.9 to 21.5% alcohol by volume in an energy drink with such flavors as kiwi fruit and sour apple. It's our black coffee and gum. And you open the can and it goes, "You'll be sorry," or "We don't say we didn't warn you."
I think you're onto something here. I think that would sell just because people hate themselves enough.
Yeah. And Bunny Jason starts out as a teenage girl going on a date with an older boy, and who gives her some alcohol, and it rapidly turns into a 1950s War of the Worlds meets Skyline brain sucker. And eventually, in order to protect her family, she goes all the way into the darkness until she's wearing a grab ski mask that looks like a hockey mask and heavy work coveralls to cover up the fact she's wearing a Confederate Army hard plate chest piece, and stalking around the woods, killing anybody who comes into the woods to protect her family. So you actually get to watch the evolution of Jason Voorhees.
Wow.
I like
that. And that is Fizzy Brew and Fear, actually. How come the Nico Marines aren't in heaven? Because they don't die.
That's a good answer.
If they do die, they end up in heaven, but they don't die. They very rarely die.
Okay, so before we go any further, I think I'd be remiss if I didn't just bring this up now.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm gonna have to jump forward to do this. Oh, where'd it go?
It's there. We're behind by a lot.
Jeez, we are way behind.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, we'll pick up here. How about that?
Okay.
Oh, wait. No, that's way too far back.
The Nico Marines are imagine Warhammer 40k Marines, amp them up even further with cyberware and hatred, and then make them immortal teenage cat girls whose brains are completely fried.
Okay, so before we go any further, I wanted to say to anyone out there who is not familiar with Ralt's work, if you are a member of Kindle Unlimited, you can read all of his books for free.
Yes,
Link right there for Behold Humanity Book 1. I've picked it up and I have a membership, so I am currently reading it for free. I suggest you all do the same. Support indie writers. And plus, this sounds like a hell of a lot of fun.
And, enjoy reading it. I mean, I hope you enjoy it. It's absolutely crazy.
Well, I told you, I read the first one and I laughed my ass off.
Yeah. Pathak is in the Pathak Chronicles in the Tales of the Terran Confederacy, and hell, just grabbing the hardcover right here. There is, just in this book, there is, let's see, Pathak eats an ice cream cone. Let's see, Pathak smokes a pack. Yeah.
Does he keep getting addicted to various Earth vices?
Yeah. Pathak in the Great Ice Cream Raid. Pathak makes a video.
Pathak makes a video. Does he post it to YouTube?
Yes, he posts it to the Trinod version of YouTube. Pathak signs his name. And how Pathak totally on purpose and not at all accidentally saved Christmas. which in universe is a famous one right up there with Daxon and Kiss Save Santa.
Wow.
And yes, Kiss still exists. They're on their like 9,000th lead singer, but they still exist.
Okay, I think Kat's trying to find you another question because we're just overloaded here with questions. You've got a lot of fans, my friend.
It's kind of scary. I mean, I'm kind of one of those people, I live in my little house in my little town, and I play with the grandkids. I spend time with my wife and kids and my neighbors, and that's about it,
Well, you found your niche. That's great.
Yeah. Ooh, the best flavor of liquid hate would have to be kiwi. No. Lemon, lime, and sour apple. The worst flavor would have to be on the Trinod. For humans, it's on the Trinod market. It's probably nicotine and nicotine and ice cream would probably be the worst one. We Pathak discovers Halloween. Yes, we do. I really thought over doing that for Halloween, but Halloween was so crazy here.
So what about a flavor like, say, I don't know, blackberry and battery acid?
Oh, that would be extremely popular with the Rigelians. Oh, God.
Lanark Talon?
Lanark Talon.
Okay.
Lanark Talon names. Oh, God. I'm sitting at the keyboard typing, and I think I need a name for this Lanark Talon, and it comes out of my fingers, and I look at it and go, are you kidding me?
Are they all puns or innuendos or something?
They're all puns.
Oh, okay.
Mutu.
That's great.
Armor Moo.
Armor Moo.
That's a tank commander, by the way.
Nice.
Are we going back to Earth and see what's going on inside the bag? I'm not sure, but I got this sentence stuck in my head that is, and then one day, for no reason at all, a bag opened. And that is just as ominous as it sounds.
I like that. Yeah, it's kind of like Repo Man, the trunk of the car.
Yeah. It's our depiction of the Entropic Legion. It's just horrific. Right now, currently, according to what my brain says, the Entropic Legion is much, much, much later. Humanity is so paranoid in this universe that they built the Entropic Legion, and the Entropic Legion can even withstand antimatter without it ablating their armor. And their whole job is to check in on the universe now and then and see if the universe is still around. And if so, does humanity still exist?
Okay, we've got a great question here, and
Okay.
after you answer it, I'm going to chime in.
Okay. Would you sign a deal to get this animated as either a comic book or a TV show?
You know, when it comes to deals like that, I was 19 and I was offered this great deal on a car. And it looked really good. And it was in Germany. It was this Turkish guy. And he offered me this great deal on this car. And I told him I needed to think about it. And he kept bugging me over and over and over to buy this car. And 2 weeks later, the guy was arrested for murder because there was blood all over the trunk of the car. So every time somebody's like, you know, do you want to get into animation or movies or TV shows? I think about that guy.
That's actually not a bad comparison to Hollywood.
No, it's not a bad comparison.
We've had our dealings. That is not a bad comparison.
Yeah.
I went to a university that had a major theater thing. And because I used to work construction, I'm kind of a handy guy. I ended up, instead of having to go out on stage, I worked on the sets. So I met theater majors, real divas. And there would be Hollywood producers coming up to check these people out. And I looked at the way they treated me. And number one, it's a hell of a thing to have some guy look at you and say, you can go out and do what I told you to, or I'll ruin your life in Hollywood. And me looking at him and going, do I look like a child chasing pervert to you? And you're going to need more than that big guy right there. But I learned about Hollywood, and what I learned is the difference between Hollywood and the enemy when I was in Panama is the enemy will shoot me in my face, and it's nothing personal. The people I met from Hollywood will bend me over, plow me up the ass, wipe my face with my dirty underwear, and then tell me I should give them money for it.
Yeah.
I didn't like them. I didn't enjoy my meetings with them. And I don't know, if some Japanimation company came up and said, hey, we want to make this into a completely crazy animated TV show, I'd probably say yes. But if they were from Hollywood, no. No. No, I met too many of them, and I don't trust them.
The advice I'd give to anyone if they're approached by Hollywood, you do this. You say, okay, how much are you going to give me? You take the money, and then you go away. And you say you don't want anything but the money.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. Deal done. You keep your rights. You get paid. You leave.
Oh, but,
Yeah.
but we'll let you on the set. It's like, oh, no, pay me.
Do I look like I care about what you're doing?
More later.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it'd be like, do I look like I care what's going on in your set? I have nothing to do with child trafficking. Get away from me.
Yeah.
I have a real low opinion of people in Hollywood because of the people I met.
Yeah, I don't blame
Same.
you. We had our own dealings. As far as comics are concerned, it's really who you're working with. And what it is you've got to know them. They've got to love it just as much as you do. That's the rule.
And are you talking the modern state of comic books? Are you talking about? I mean, I'd work with Rob Liefeld. He looks like he'd be funny to get drunk and break and trade the whiskey bottle across the face with. He looks like he'd be a blast.
Strangely enough, I would say that a deal with him would be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. He looks like he wouldn't mind rolling around in the mud, punching each other, and then laughing about it an hour later.
Well, he'd probably take you downstairs to his private gun range underneath his house.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, cool. He'll hunt me for sport.
Which he really does have. But no, really, you want to work as an indie project, and you want to work directly with the artist and whoever's writing your script if you're not doing it yourself.
Yeah.
You don't want to get involved with Marvel or DC. Same thing if you do. If they show up, you say, okay, how much money are you going to give me? You take it, and you say, okay, goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
You say, go write your script, go make your horrible comic book, bye.
How many monsters do I go through per chapter on average? You know, the big ones that are the size of your forearm, I'm doing three to four of those a day. I don't know why.
That's understandable.
Monster's my jam. I can't drink coffee. Okay, so real quick, Skeefy 878 says, any plans for the Immortals unaccounted for during the assault on Heaven?
Yes. Now that you mention it, it just popped into my brain. Ow.
Oh.
Apparently somebody's going to try to hit the digital omnibus sign. We're going to have the redemption of Matthias.
And Jack Prewitt asks, is there any possibility that there will be any more pilot-centric chapters in the future? As a current Army pilot from a long line of pilots, I am a huge fan of the way you write the mind of a pilot.
Oh my God, that's actually amazing. It's amazing praise. Thank you. I appreciate that.
It is actually. Ishii wrote a pilot story too, and those pilots are hard to please. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, because the spoke defensive. The spoke defensive is going to have the counteroffensive by the reestablished Matthias I on the reestablished Confederacy. Yeah, that means more Muckstedt and another. It's going to be and more Ricky Toven. My wife suggested that. Any chance we can buy autographed copies of the print books in the future? My wife suggested that. I practically hid under the bed at the thought of it. But she convinced me that, when the 5th book comes out and I do the 5-book omnibus and paperback, that I order 25 copies and put them up for sale.
All right.
You can do that. There's also Kickstarters are great too, because that would cover the price of the printing.
Yeah.
And postage.
Yeah, and postage.
Well, we're down to the last 5 minutes or 10 minutes. So why don't we get through the last question, see if there are any that stand out that we should answer, and
this one really caught me. This one really caught me. Okay. The way you handle and address PTSD and portray it is absolutely amazing. Some of the chapters have helped me explain the issues I have. It is intentional to cover topics like that. When it comes to PTSD, bipolar, OCD, and all of those, I understand that it is not something that is magically waved away. And even with the magical science of the 10,000th century, of the 100th century, it doesn't just go away. It doesn't go away instantly. It has to go through. It is intentional to portray it realistically, because if there is anything I hate, I have seen PTSD ruin amazing people. And it doesn't hit them at once. It doesn't, as soon as you come out of the battlefield, as soon as you get out, as soon as you leave the military, it hits. It sneaks up on you 4 or 5 years later and just mugs you in the alley. So it's absolutely intentional to try to portray mental illness as the way it is without making the person into a victim or having it define them. I want them to be a well-rounded character that suffers from this particular illness and not have it make them into a victim, just that they're this person with this illness and they're trying to recover from it.
It's interesting because that's actually been a common theme throughout my own work.
Oh, PTSD is a hell of a thing.
It was one of those things where I didn't realize I was writing it till I realized I was writing it, kind of thing. That certain themes just kept coming up over and over again, and it was through writing that I became aware that I had post-traumatic stress.
I was in denial and self-medicating with booze.
Well, you start to lose your mind, and you always want to come at the assumption that, well, clearly I must be thinking clearly, so there really is a problem, and clearly it's not me.
Yeah. But I had one of those uncles that, 10 years after Vietnam ran off into the woods. And so I was able to stop myself right about it when I hit that point. Because I saw him. Anyway, yeah, we'll do another question or two if you guys got time for it.
Yeah.
A lot of people asking questions.
Where did the enemy only exists to be destroyed originate?
That existed during military training. The enemy only exists to be destroyed. Because we're talking, it was a different era. It was a different time. And with what I was working with, their collateral damage was part of what I was working with the majority of the time. yeah, it was plus, if somebody's right, it is a bolo thing also, but I picked it up from the military, and I picked it up from, this is what we do now. This is our job. This is what we do. This is our life now. And yeah, it's where it came from. I forgot that bolos do that too.
Okay, let's just kind of speed through these, see if there's any. It's never going to end.
Yeah, sorry, folks. Yeah. Thank you so much for all of your questions. I'm sorry that we're not able to get to all of them.
Where did the friend plague come from? I stole it from the 1970s Planet of the Apes series. They mention it in passing, walking by the statue, which I then recreated in one of Nat Teddy's chapters. I just flat out stole it.
Nice.
All right. Well, I've seen this question pop up a few times now, so there's no reason not to repeat it. But somebody asked where they can start to read your books. Here's a good place to start. Behold Humanity, Book 1 on Amazon. And again, if you're a Kindle Unlimited member, you can read it free. And I highly recommend checking it out. If anything, you'll laugh your ass off at the first story.
And Pickles is saying that he'd be happy if this interview went on for another couple of hours. Since you do have a book coming out soon, would you like to come back to talk about it when it comes out?
Especially since you're one of our listeners. You want to come back?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to.
Awesome. So,
which one? The Telkin Wars or Thou Shalt Not Fall?
When is the Telkin Wars coming out?
Friday.
This Friday.
We can't do this Friday.
How about let's aim for February, and after the show ends, we can pull out our calendars and synchronize our watches?
Works for me.
Awesome.
The other thing I'm going to stress to everyone out there is, hold on, let me open this up to make sure I get the link correct.
Okay, 1 second.
And that is the Wordcraft Podcast. Why is it not doing it correctly?
Because YouTube's being silly.
Okay, well, there we go.
And while he's looking for that, remember, if you are or if you know a human in distress, please remember to reach out in these times, please.
Yes, definitely.
I would urge everyone listening to go over to the Wordcraft Podcast and subscribe, because it's the channel dedicated exclusively to these interviews and writing subjects. And if you want to find this interview again on rebroadcast, that is where to go. Mm-hmm. So go over there, become a member. I think next time we have you on, since I've noticed this come up a lot of people are talking about post-traumatic stress and the way you handle it. And as I've said, I've written my own stories about the same.
You've been there.
I've been there. Yes, I've definitely been there. In fact, I'd say my best piece of work, Scars, is specifically semi-autobiographical on that topic.
I think it's a combination of that and the soldier story for Utopiates.
Yeah. So I think that would be a great topic to bring you back on, is discussing specifically portraying that in fiction in a way that isn't cheap.
Yeah, it isn't cheap. Yeah, especially nowadays with everything, especially when some people decided it's a neat badge to make their personality around, and it's not.
Yeah.
That disgusts me. I see little high school girls saying, I've got PTSDs because somebody said I'm fat. It's like, fuck you.
Yeah.
I was damaged by Twitter.
Yeah, damaged by Twitter. No. I'm sorry. You know nothing of real pain.
No, I think the one that really got me, and I realize this is off topic, but I had somebody contact me because they knew I had written about post-traumatic stress, and I talked about it a few times on the air. And they started talking about trigger warnings in their life, and I just said, look, you've got the problem, not the world. The world doesn't adapt to you. You've got to adapt. And she just went ape shit on me about how horrible and bigoted I was. And I just didn't understand.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't think you're ready to kill yourself, are you?
See, I never hit that point. I never reached the kill myself point. I did reach the self-destructive point, so that's why I spent a couple years during, well, not years, I spent a couple months doing mercenary work, so.
Ooh. Eesh. No, I didn't. I hit a point in which the pain inside my head hurt so much that killing myself did seem like a viable and sensible way of making the pain stop.
Yeah.
I didn't want to die. It hurt so much.
Yeah, it was hell of a thing.
But no, if you're okay with it, I do think that this is a good topic since having PTSDs is the trendy thing now. Like with having multiple genders and blue hair. So
I don't mind. I don't mind the multiple genders because they ain't hurting me. I take the '80s thing of, you know what? As long as you're not hurt, as long as it's with another consenting adult, I give $2 what you do. It's up to you. I don't really care. It doesn't bother me. Don't scream at me if I get it wrong. I'm sorry. Not up on the lingo. I live in my house. But yeah, that doesn't really bother me because, hey, go with it, man. But sometimes, I can tell I'm over 50 because I get lost on a lot of stuff.
There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, there's a lot to get lost on right now.
Somebody said, the more of this man's life I hear, the more I want to know.
I think maybe at some point an autobiography might be in order.
Oh, God, no. God, I was such a terrible person. I did some terrible things. I once smuggled
mistakes
a midget.
were made.
Yeah, I once smuggled a midget.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I actually smuggled a midget. I hid her in a duffel bag and put the duffel bag underneath the camo net, and smuggled her out to the field site. So I had somebody keep me company in the forward observation post.
Oh my God! Okay, you need to write this. This is great material.
Please tell me you've put that in your stories, and if you haven't, that you're going to, because
I
that's
should
beautiful.
someday. But yeah, and the best part was I got caught.
You got caught.
And the sergeant major looks down and he sees the midget looking up at him and he looks at me and looks at the midget and looks at me and looks at me and goes, I don't even want to know, and walks away. And this was a man who fought the 68 Tet Offensive. He just looks at me and goes, I don't want to know.
Okay, we're bringing you back and we're asking you about non-writer stuff too.
Yeah.
This sounds great. I mean, one of the things, Monday nights we do the weird stories.
Oh yeah.
Oh God.
We had done a number of. I don't know how many you've listened to, but with Janelle, we've done episodes of Gen X behaving badly.
Yeah, I was Gen X behaving badly.
I mean, maybe you would be great for an episode of just telling your stories.
Oh, we used to do terrible stuff because it was back when nobody had cell phones, thank God. YouTube didn't exist. The cops didn't care unless somebody got murdered.
People didn't care if your feelings got hurt.
No, they didn't. This was back, I'm old enough to be able to remember going cruising.
Yeah. All right. Blackmore wanted to know if I publish under J. Ishiro Finney, and in fact I do. Let me give you a link here to Scars, which is the book I would recommend you start with if you want to read my fiction. That is the semi-autobiographical story. It's sci-fi, but it does have some real-life inspiration. That's the one I would recommend you pick up. It is also another one you can read for free if you're a Kindle Unlimited member, although it is also available in print. Alternately, and give me a second. You can also read my graphic novels, which are published under the name Josh Finney. And let me include a link to that as well. If you're looking for stuff that isn't woke, well illustrated and well written, there you go. That's where you can find my graphic novels. And you'd probably really enjoy Case File Arkham, which is Lovecraftian noir meets 1940s noir detective pulp.
Oh, nice.
Trenton says that his dad told him some sailors and Marines ran a brothel on an aircraft carrier, smuggled a few girls in, and hid them in an area below deck.
I can believe it.
I believe it too. After all the stories we heard when we would go over to the Midway
Yeah.
and listen to the old guys talk.
Yeah, it's funny. When I was younger, you hear the old guys talk. The old guys that had been there, done that. Charged beaches in Normandy, and they'd say stuff that would make me cringe.
Oh yeah.
And now I'm the guy who, talking at the VFW, I talk about what I do, and all these guys who got out like in the last 5-10 years look at me and are like, "How are you not in jail?" And I'm like, everybody used to do it. My sergeant major fought a monkey.
That is not a sentence I was planning to hear today.
I'm just wondering how the hell the battlefield became so safe.
I got theories on that, but not one I'm willing to talk about.
No,
I don't.
No, it's all good.
You shot people? Okay, so we got one more question. I think we should then probably.
All right.
Wrap it up. And it's a Shadowpard asks, how about a fox smuggles a midget mantis story?
The fox smuggles a midget. Yeah, but then that's just the writer's barely disguised fetish. And we all know how those stories turn out.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so where can people find you online? I mean, you'd said you hang out a lot in Humanity. Fuck yeah.
That's about it. I listen. Oh, once in a great while. I mean, I got a YouTube channel apparently that once in a while I broadcast to. That I'll accidentally lean on the keys. I'll be in the middle of playing a game and lean on the keys, and it'll fire up. In the background that Twitch thing, and I'll accidentally stream me playing video games and cursing with my online wife. But I don't hang out anywhere online anymore. I was online back at 300 baud modems. And over the last 10, 15 years, I've watched the internet go from hundreds of thousands of interesting places to 12 internet sites.
Yeah.
And I don't like Facebook. My family's on Facebook. I don't like it. I don't like Twitter. I got banned on Twitter. It took me like 30 seconds. I made one post. I never got a Tumblr. I've never run a blog. I don't really hang out anywhere. I mean, if I'm not writing, I'm paying attention to my wife, playing with the granddaughter, or reading, or working on my D&D campaign for my friends.
That is a good way to spend time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Although I would say that I do recommend you set up at least a homepage where they have your bio, your bibliography, kind of a one-stop place to find out about you and where to buy your books.
So more than just the Amazon author page.
Yeah. I mean, well, you really want some place where you can say this,
Yeah, this was all accidental. I mean,
yeah.
I did this because everybody was locked in. Everybody was terrified. They were still telling us that 70 million people were going to die in America alone.
Yeah. And then they were disappointed when it didn't happen.
Oh God! And the worst part was, I know just enough to be a danger to myself about it, and I know all that. And I saw them pulling out these CDC plans, and my blood ran cold because some of those plans were 25 years old. Some of them, it's like, oh my God, I couldn't believe it what I was seeing, and I was like, if this disease is as lethal as they say, everybody's going to die because nobody paid attention to the bioweapon stocks after 1996. So I kept writing because, it was really dark, and people were like, hey, I'm really looking forward to seeing the next chapter. I just kept writing, to give myself something to do, something to get my head out of the fact of, there were no planes in the sky anymore, and nobody was on the road anymore, and everybody was frightened, and I couldn't do anything to help them. And I started writing, and I kept writing because people were like, you helped me get through the day. And that's how this happened. Is I just wanted to help people. I just wanted to do my little part,
That was when we were broadcasting daily because we felt that, there needed to be kind of a voice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I do have a Patreon. Funny thing was, I didn't make it until somebody clued me in that there had been 3 fake Patreons made in my name.
Really?
Hey, Air Gear, you're saying that Amazon's giving you trouble? Are you having trouble getting his books? Oh, anyway.
And somebody asked what I'm doing with the Patreon. I have fixed the plumbing in my daughter's house, fixed the tile, fixed the plumbing here. My other daughter got a new water heater. I use it to improve my family's life. I'm not one of these guys who runs out and immediately tries to buy a $2 million home.
That's good. That's a very smart choice. Another thing I'd recommend everyone is if you're curious about any of the links we talked about, they're all in the description below.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, I see you've got a very, very vibrant discussion going on. Continue it in the chat or in the,
Yeah, we'll leave this open so that people can continue talking.
And yes, I do buy ice cream for my granddaughter. As a matter of fact, I didn't buy ice cream. I took her and a couple of the neighbor children down to get hot chocolate because the old lady that runs the hot chocolate place would rather die than not open the door. So, they were sledding in the snow, 5 little kids, and drinking hot chocolate.
That's wonderful.
Well, I grew up with nothing. So I use the Patreon money to make sure my kids and my grandkids don't grow up playing in the junkyard.
But that's where all the best toys are.
Yeah, that's where the fun stuff is.
Yeah, that was the fun stuff.
Like the Freon.
The Freon and the battery acid. Can't forget the battery acid.
Yeah, battery acid. There's fun times right there.
Well, thank you, Retneck.
Yeah.
Okay, well, speaking of interviews, next week we are having Declan Finn return, and he's going to be talking about his new book, White Ops.
Yep.
So, yeah, that is next week, same time as usual.
Yes.
And anything you want to say before we close the night out? Ralts?
No, anything I want to say?
Yes.
Be good to one another. The world is really hard. So if you can't be good to anybody else because everybody else around you is an asshole, try to be good to yourself. Look in the mirror and just look at yourself and say, the chances of me being here were 1 in 100 trillion, and I'm right here. And smile.
Humanity, fuck yeah.
Yeah. So just take good care of yourself, as best you can. That's it.
All right.
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you, Ralts, for joining us this evening. And again, please stick around when we sign off so that we can schedule for you to return.
I will.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Yeah.